Okay, so we have now our private, public, and instances and our bastion host. We're able to actually get into our private instance, which yay, we're into it. But now what do we need to do? We need to install NGINX onto it. Okay, and remember, NGINX is just a server. So it's like if you made an API, you hit an endpoint and you see your content. We hit the NGINX endpoint and we get a welcome to NGINX page. Okay, lots of fancy, cool stuff you can do with it, but for our purposes, that's all we're really caring about. All right. So how did we install it on our public EC2 instance? Well, we went ahead and did sudo yum install nginx. So let's give that a try. And you can see it's thinking, which is interesting because if you remember when we installed it on our public instance, it was real quick. So what's going on that it's loading over and over? Well, let's think it through. We are on our private instance within our private subnet within our private VPC. Okay? There is no way for the internet, someone from outside of our VPC, to get into that private subnet. There's also no way for us from within our private subnet to get out to the internet. And when we say sudo yum install nginx, that's exactly what we're doing. We're trying to get out to the internet to download and install nginx. And we can't do that. Well, we can't do that right now, but we can do that using a NAT gateway. So let's go ahead and go back to our VPC. And we're going to go to NAT gateways. All right, you can see we don't have anything there. Let's go ahead and create one. All right, so we're going to say DIP, deploy in public, and then we're going to say NAT gateway. We're going to select a subnet. Now, it's counterintuitive a little bit, but we're going to attach it to our, we're going to create the NAT gateway inside of our public subnet, right? Because our private subnet stays locked down, but we can put it in the public subnet, all right? And then what we can do, and see if you look at the description too, a highly available managed network access or address translation service that instances and private subnets can use to connect to services and other VPCs, on-premise networks, or the internet. So we want the third of those, the internet. All right. And so basically what we are going to be doing is we're going to go through this NAT gateway, our little doorway, to connect to the internet in order to get NGINX. Okay. So we will leave the connectivity type as public, and we do need to allocate an elastic IP address. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And we're going to say create. All right. Next, we're going to, what are we going to do next? Next, we are going to create a private route table. So let me filter by VPC. So we have two route tables right now. We have our default that just allows local traffic all around. We have a public that allows us to connect to the internet gateway. And now we are going to do deploy in public private route table. We want that to be within the deploy in public VPC, and then we can create the route table. The next thing we have to do is we have to associate it with a subnet. So we are going to associate it with a private subnet. So this is going to allow us like a little route, a path, okay, from our private subnet. So right now we have our local route. From our private subnet, we can communicate with anything else within our VPC. We're going to click on edit routes. We're going to add a route. We want to be able to do all traffic, and then we want to go to the target. Our target is going to be our NAT gateway. So now what we're saying is from our private subnet, okay, we're able to, we have a route to that NAT gateway, which allows us to talk to the internet, okay? So let's see if that did anything. All right, we're still thinking here. All right, let's try again. This does not look great. All right. So what is going on? All right. That we cannot reach out to our internet. All right. We have to figure that out. All right. So we're going to go back to our EC2. And we're going to go to our instance. And I'm going to look at my private instance. I'm going to go to my security group. All right, so I'm actually not super sure. Maybe I just needed to wait a second. Let's see what's going on. Oh, there we go. All right, I just needed to wait a second. I think it takes a second for the NAT gateway to get set up. I was going to say, I was like, I'm pretty sure we did everything we're supposed to do. All right, so yes, we can download all of those. But now you can see that now we have that NAT gateway and we have that route. We are able to use the NAT gateway to connect to the internet to download NGINX, okay? So then we can go ahead and start NGINX by doing sudo systemctl NGINX start. Nope. And it's the opposite way. All right, so now NGINX is started. So if you remember from when we set up our public instance, the first thing that we want to do is we want to say curl localhost. And when we locally talk to ourselves, you can see that we see the home page. So curling localhost is just like if I were on my computer and I opened up my application in the browser and I said localhost at port 80, and then I loaded the application that I was working on locally. This is the exact same thing. We started running NGINX and then we went and into our little browser, our virtual browser, and we pinged our local host, which then returned a response of that HTML page. Okay, so yay us, that's awesome. Now we want to see if we can ping it from a separate instance, right? Because ultimately what we're trying to do is we're trying to set up the public EC2 instance as a load balancer, that's what users would use to then redirect to our private instance. So I'm going to open up a new tab in my terminal. I'm going to go to EC2. I'm going to go to my instances, and I'm going to go to my public EC2 instance. I'm going to do my connect, and then grab that command. All right, and paste it in. All right, and then I'm going to say curl, and I'm going to go back to my private instance to get my private IP address. And then I'm going to hit that private IP address. And it's not great. Nothing's happening. So then let me add a port because maybe that's it. So NGINX runs on 80. And honestly, that's not helping either. Let me go back. Is this still working? What's going on? Did NGINX stop running? And it did not. All right. So we have another security rule that we need to set up. Okay. So let's go back and look at our private instance, which I already had it open, and then go to the security rules. You can see that inbound, the only security rule that we have for inbound is that we can SSH from that bastion host. So what we need to do now is we need to add an inbound rule that says that we can accept TCP traffic, and we want to accept it from port 80. From the maybe we don't want. All right, so I just didn't scroll down enough. So let's go to custom TCP on port 80, and then we want to scroll down, and we want to, let's select this public security group here and save it and see if that does it for us. And it does. Okay. So what we did is we added that we want to be able to have this public uh, security group. We want to be able to, from our public instance, communicate to our private instance. All right. So now we are allowing the Bastion host and the public EC2 instance to talk to the private instance. So that is pretty cool. Okay. So now when I do that, I can go ahead and see the NGINX homepage. All right. We're still not quite done yet, but we are really getting close. In the next video, I'm going to show you how we can edit what page is popping up, and then how we can, we'll also go over how we can redirect the traffic from the public to the private. And that will be our first deployed application. All right. See you in the next video.